It's a quiet evening. The noise of the world has softened, the children are grown, the work is done, and life has slowed down enough that the past begins to speak again. You're older now, wiser, but sometimes when it's quiet, too quiet, memories come back you thought you'd left behind. A face, a moment, a regret, a deep ache you carry in silence. You might not talk about it. You've learned to smile through it, to say, that was a long time ago. But inside, a part of you still wonders, why does it still hurt? Why can't I forget? Will I ever truly feel at peace? The world often tells us to move on, to let it go, to toughen up and bury the past. But here's the truth. The past doesn't disappear just because time passes. It waits quietly until you're finally ready to face it with gentleness. And for many of us, that moment doesn't come in our 30s or 40s. It comes now, after 70, when life slows down enough for healing to catch up. This video is not about fixing the past, it's about making peace with it. Even if the wound is old, even if the people involved are gone, even if the hurt is still tender, because healing has no deadline. And peace arrives when we stop running from the past and begin to walk with it without fear. Let's begin that walk together. Part 1. Understand that painful memories don't mean you failed. The wounds you still feel are not signs of weakness. They're signs of a life fully lived. There's a kind of quiet pain that only comes with age. It doesn't scream, it doesn't rush in all at once. It shows up slowly, between sips of tea, in the silence of the evening, in the space between breaths. You think about a moment from long ago. Maybe you said something in anger. Maybe you stayed silent when someone needed your voice. Maybe someone hurt you and you never told anyone. And even now, years, even decades later, you still feel the sting. People may tell you it was a long time ago, just forget it. You're still thinking about that? But inside, the ache lingers because time may pass, but emotions, real, unresolved emotions, don't always leave with the years. And so the question rises, if I still feel this pain, does that mean I failed? The answer is absolutely not. Painful memories are not a sign that you did something wrong. They are often a sign that you lived deeply, that you cared, even when you didn't know how to show it, that you loved even when love didn't come back the way you hoped, that you tried even when you weren't ready or strong or wise. No one gets to the age of 70 without regret. Not one of us. We all have words we wish we could take back, apologies we never got, people we pushed away, people we held on to too long. But if you're still hurting from something in your past, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you were human. It means that whatever happened, however painful, mattered to you. It touched your heart deeply enough to leave a mark. And that mark isn't shameful. It's sacred. Pain is not proof of failure. It's proof that you were there and that you felt something real. Even good people have moments they regret. You may look back and think, I should have known better. I was so stubborn. Why didn't I do things differently? But you were doing the best you could with the knowledge you had, with the tools you were given, with the wounds you were carrying, and in the world you were trying to survive in. When you see your younger self through that lens, not judgment, but understanding, you start to realize, I wasn't perfect, but I was doing what I thought was right. And sometimes that's all we can do. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself at the age when that regret began. What were you going through? Who did you have to take care of? What burdens were you silently holding? How much pain did you hide from others? Now, instead of blaming that version of yourself, what if you offered them compassion? What if you said you were tired, you were scared, you didn't know what the future would look like, but you still got through it? And I'm proud of you for surviving it. Because that version of you, the one who made mistakes, who struggled, who didn't have all the answers in it, that version is still part of you. And they're still waiting for your kindness. You don't have to forget the past to be at peace. You don't have to pretend the pain never happened. You only need to say this memory still hurts, but it no longer defines who I am. That is growth. That is wisdom. That is the peace that comes from decades of living, falling, learning, and rising again. And that peace is only possible now because you've lived long enough to see the full picture. You're no longer stuck in that chapter. You're holding the whole book. You are not your worst moment. You are not the thing you wish you had done differently. You are not the silence you regret, nor the words you can't take back. You are the meals you cooked with love, the quiet support you gave without praise, the forgiveness you offered when it was hard, the strength it took to keep going, day after day. Uh, the painful memories you carry are just a part of your story. They do not have to be the end of it. You haven't failed because it still hurts. You're healing because you're still here, and you're finally ready to give yourself the compassion you always needed. Part two, gently let go of what you can't change. Holding on won't heal you, but gentle release can set you free. There are things you'll never be able to fix, words you can't unsay, people you can't bring back, choices you made when you didn't know better, and that truth can ache quietly, deeply, especially in the stillness of growing older. Sometimes that ache feels like a knot in your chest. Other times it feels like a whisper in the back of your mind. If only I had. I should have said something. What if I had chosen differently? The more we replay these moments, the tighter we hold them. But holding doesn't bring peace, it brings exhaustion. Letting go isn't giving up, it's letting yourself breathe. Some people think letting go means you're forgetting or pretending it didn't matter. But true letting go isn't about erasing anything, it's about releasing the need to keep carrying it every single day. You can honor your pain without building your life around it. You can remember what happened without letting it rule who you are today. Letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're finally strong enough to say, "This moment hurt me. I don't deny it, but I choose not to hurt myself with it anymore." What if the past can't be fixed, only held with kindness? We often treat painful memories like math problems, as if we think long enough, we'll find a solution. But healing isn't logic, it's surrender. It's saying, I can't change what happened. I can't go back and be wiser, but I can love the version of me who didn't know better. That's not denial, that's maturity. Imagine holding a heavy suitcase. You've carried it for years, maybe even decades. Your arms are tired, your back is sore, but you keep walking with it thinking, I've carried it this long, maybe I have to. But what if you didn't? What if today you set it down? Not because the contents disappeared, not because you forgot what's inside, but because you've realized, I don't need to carry the weight to remember the lesson. Letting go doesn't erase what happened, it just gives you permission to stop suffering from it. If you're ready to release something painful from your past, try this. Sit quietly with a notebook or just your breath, close your eyes and bring that memory to mind. Say silently or aloud, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. Yes, I still carry it. Now gently say, but I no longer need this pain to teach me. I bless this memory and I let it rest now. You might cry. You might not. But something inside you, something old and tired, will begin to loosen. You can still remember the person who hurt you. You can still feel grief for the things that never turned out. But you can also remind yourself, that was then, and I'm still here now. You are not the same person you were, and the past cannot keep holding you captive unless you choose to stay. There is life left in you, even now. Even with the aches and losses and the long list of what ifs, you still have moments to enjoy, hands to hold, sunsets to watch, laughter to share, peace to feel. But you can't fully receive those things if your hands are clenched around regret. Letting go makes space for softness, for rest, for freedom. Not all healing needs an apology. Not every wound gets a perfect explanation. But you can still give yourself the closure they never gave you. Try whispering, I release this. Not because it's okay, but because I'm ready to be free. You're not letting them off the hook. You're unhooking yourself from the story that's held you down for too long. You can't go back and give your past a better ending, but you can give your present a softer beginning. Let that be your quiet victory. Today doesn't need to carry the weight of yesterday. You're allowed to let go, even if you still remember, even if you still feel, even if it still hurts a little. Because the hurt doesn't mean you haven't healed. It just means you loved, you lived. And now you're ready to rise lighter than before. Part three, write a letter to the person you were. The most healing conversation is the one you have with yourself. By the time you reach 70, you've lived through many versions of yourself. The bold one, the scared one, the one who said too much, the one who stayed silent, the one who tried, failed, succeeded, hurt, and healed. And now, after all those years, you might look back and still carry guilt, regret, shame. or simply the ache of I wish I had known then what I know now. But healing the past doesn't always mean going back in time. Sometimes it means turning inward and writing a letter to the version of you who needed love, not judgment. Why write to your past self? Because you were there. You remember what they went through, and no one is more qualified to speak with compassion to them than you. Writing a letter to your younger self is not about fixing them, it's about witnessing them, standing beside them now with the wisdom of age and saying, I see you, I understand why you did what you did, and I forgive you. It might sound simple, even silly, but this practice has helped countless people release guilt and make peace with their inner story without needing anyone else's permission. Before you begin writing, pause and remember that younger version of you wasn't perfect. They didn't have your current wisdom, they didn't have all the tools or clarity, but they had your heart. They were doing their best with the childhood they came from, the trauma they carried, the limited support they had, the world they were trying to survive in. And if you can recognize that, you can start to speak to them with grace instead of blame. There is no right or wrong way to do this. But here are a few gentle prompts to help guide you. 1. Start with recognition. I remember you. I know how scared, strong, lonely, or confused you were. Let them know you haven't forgotten their struggle. 2. Offer compassion. You made mistakes, but you didn't mean to hurt anyone, not even yourself. You were doing your best. I'm sorry no one told you it was okay to rest, to feel, to not be perfect. 3. Name the regrets, then release them. I forgive you for you didn't know any better, and that's okay. I carried this pain for years, but I'm setting it down now, not because you were bad, but because you were hurting. 4. Acknowledge their courage. You survived so much. You kept going even when it was hard. Because of you, I'm still here. 5. Close with love and peace. I love you now in a way I couldn't love you then. You are free. You don't have to carry the shame anymore. I'll carry the wisdom. How to do this gently. Sit somewhere quiet with paper or your journal. Take a few deep breaths and picture your younger self. Let the words come slowly. Don't force it. If tears come, let them. If anger arises, name it, then breathe through it. When you're done, fold the letter. Place it in a drawer, burn it safely, or tuck it into your pillow. This letter is not for anyone else. It's a bridge between who you were and who you've become. When you stop judging your younger self, you free your older self to live with more ease. What changes after this? The pain might still be there, but it softens. Because now, instead of holding regret, you've offered it a resting place. Instead of carrying shame, you've offered yourself dignity. And instead of living in the past, you've honored it. So you can finally move forward. If you had spoken to yourself this way at 30, you might have changed faster. If someone had loved you this gently back then, you might have healed sooner. But the miracle is, you're doing it now. And that's more than enough, because it's never too late to write a new ending, not by changing the past, but by changing how you live with it. You were not meant to carry the weight of your entire life alone. Sometimes it only takes one letter to remind you. You've always deserved softness. Part 4. Make room for present peace. You cannot heal yesterday if you never step into today. You've made peace with your past, or at least you've begun. You've looked back with honesty. You've forgiven where you could. You've spoken to your younger self with compassion. But now comes the part most people forget: to step forward, to come home to today, and to let peace live not just in your thoughts, but in your everyday life. Because the truth is, you cannot rewrite what has already happened, but you can choose what happens now. And peace isn't a memory. It's a space you make room for. Are you still making space for what's already gone? Sometimes we hold so tightly to the past, we don't even realize we've made it part of the furniture in our hearts. We replay old conversations in our minds. We revisit guilt during quiet moments. We keep old pain just in case we need to remind ourselves of who we used to be. But what if the room in your heart that's filled with regret could be cleared? Not by forgetting, but by redecorating. By letting go of bitterness, you create space for gratitude. By loosening grief, you create space for presence. Peace doesn't push the past away. It just stops giving it the best seat in the house. Simple ways to invite peace into your daily life. You don't need to travel far, meditate for hours, or become a new person to feel peace. You only need to make space for it, deliberately, kindly, gently. Here are a few small shifts that can open the door. 1, start your day with stillness, not news. Instead of reaching for your phone or TV first thing, try this. Sit by the window, feel the morning light. Take 3 slow breaths and simply say, "This is a new day. I don't owe it to yesterday." That one breath sets a boundary. It tells your past, "You are part of me, but you don't get to own me." 2, speak kindly to yourself throughout the day. When old pain returns, gently whisper, "That was then. I've grown since then. Today, I choose softness." The brain listens to repetition. Let it hear a new truth. 3, let nature teach you about renewal. Watch how trees shed their leaves, how flowers bloom again, even after harsh winters, how the sun rises even when the world feels heavy. Peace is not forced, it's followed, and nature has always known the way. Take short walks, sit in the garden, let quiet things remind you that life continues. So can you. 4, create a physical space that feels light. Sometimes cluttered homes reflect cluttered hearts. Donate what you no longer need, let go of items tied to pain. Keep something that brings warmth, a photo, a prayer, a plant. Make your home a place where your future feels welcome, not haunted. 5, give peace to others, and it will echo back. Call someone you've been distant from. Say, "I'm proud of you," to someone who needs it. Forgive gently, even if the other person never says sorry. When you give peace, you receive it. Not always from others, but always from within. Somewhere along the way, society taught us that aging is about endings. But the truth is, you are still here. You still have mornings to wake up to, meals to taste, hands to hold, kindness to give and receive, peace to plant right now, not in the past. You are not a finished story. You are still being written. And the next chapter doesn't have to begin with pain. It can begin with breath, with softness, with a whispered, "I'm still becoming." Try saying this aloud each day, morning or night. I am not my past. I am not my regrets. I am not the voices that told me I was too late. I am breath. I am stillness. I am the space between what was and what could still be. And I choose peace. Not because life was easy, but because I no longer need to fight what already happened. You've carried so much memories, losses, love, mistakes, a life's worth of emotions pressed between your ribs, but you don't have to carry it all the same way anymore. Let today be the day you say, "I've made peace with the weight. Now I walk with the wisdom." And from that wisdom, may peace gently rise in your every breath. You've lived a full life, not a perfect life, not a pain-free life, but a real one filled with choices, chances, courage, and change. And now in this quiet season, the past still whispers sometimes. It reminds you of things undone, words unsaid, paths not taken, and yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still capable of making peace. Peace isn't loud, it doesn't arrive in fireworks or grand moments. It comes like a breath when you finally stop punishing yourself for the things you didn't know back then. You don't need to rewrite your story. You don't need to erase what was. You simply need to sit beside it and say, "You happened. You shaped me, but you don't own me anymore." Because peace begins the moment you stop fighting your past and start forgiving yourself for surviving it. So if no one told you today, you've carried enough, you've tried hard enough, you've suffered long enough, and now you deserve to rest, to smile, to walk lighter, to feel peace in your bones, not just your thoughts. You are not too late, you are right on time, and peace is still possible. If this message brought you comfort, like this video so it can reach another heart quietly holding old pain. Share it with someone who deserves to feel forgiven and free. Subscribe to True Senior Wisdom for weekly videos that heal, soften, and gently remind you your story still matters, and peace, at any age, is always worth reaching for. Thank you for being here, and may the rest of your story be written with more light than sorrow. You've earned that, truly.